Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atrius Live. Today, we will be featuring Atrius Solution Builder. Now, as everybody knows, nowadays, data is absolutely everywhere. We're mining it, we're collecting it from our devices, our sensors, various IoT applications, and everybody strives to make it meaningful. Not only to make it meaningful, but make it relevant to users, enable them to interface with the data in a friendly user interface, and ultimately save them time, solve their problems, and ensure that they're getting the full benefits of all the data that's being collected. Now, what is Atrius Solution Builder? Atrius Solution Builder is an HTML5 browser-based integrated development environment. What it does is allows you to rapidly and quickly build visually rich interactive applications, and to do that without having to write code. Let's recognize the current market trends and user interface development methodologies and challenges. So first of all, you need to be able to create data mashups. Data is coming from multiple sources. It's everywhere. Those systems need to be unified. Secondly, the mobile-first approach. We're on our cell phones all the time, so any user interface needs to work on multiple screen sizes and multiple devices. And of course, you also need to keep up with the trends. There are modern user interfaces that are now expected. People have great-looking apps. People have great-looking interfaces, so whatever you produce must be stunning. Today, building web applications is quite an undertaking. You need to have extensive programming experience. You need front-end and back-end developers. You also need to keep up with the technologies to make sure that whatever you produce works across multiple browser versions. And the overall approach is cyclical. For example, initially you start with mock-ups and designing what you're trying to build, and that then gets passed on to the developers who implement the vision that the designers put forth. Quite frequently, they actually don't match perfectly. So what ends up happening is you're in this cycle where it goes into development, then back into design, tweaking, and iterating over and over again. As a result, what you commonly get is a user interface which doesn't really match up with what was originally envisioned. Needless to say, to keep it modern and keep it up to date, you need to continually iterate, which can get painful. Atrius Solution Builder helps speed up the web application development process and ensures that you can iterate and evolve quickly. Atrius Solution Builder is used across multiple industries, including energy and microgrids, data center applications, building management, business intelligence, and so many others. Atrius Solution Builder allows you to unify data coming from many different environments, including the Atrius platform services, third-party web services and applications, multiple building management systems such as Niagara, Distech Controls, Delta Controls, ALC's Web Control, and others, and a whole array of third-party data sources via DSA, and that includes protocols like BACnet, Modbus, DMX, databases like MySQL, MongoDB, JDBC-enabled databases, other IoT platforms such as Azure IoT Hub, of course, IoT-related protocols like MQTT and CoAP, and so much more. A unique aspect of Atrius Solution Builder is how it can physically be deployed. It supports multiple infrastructures and can run independent of the cloud on local networks and secure network infrastructures. In addition to that, you can use very low-powered hardware to host the entire software stack, starting from the edge devices down to things like a Raspberry Pi or a Dell IoT gateway, moving to the fog layer where you have server-level installations, deploying it on supervisory servers, rack mount environments, and then, of course, cloud infrastructure if you need to scale for enterprise. Atrius Solution Builder was created for easy implementation. So the development environment is very familiar to designers and doesn't require you to write code. Most interactivity is done with drag and drop, where binding is as simple as taking a piece of information and dragging it right on top of your gauges, widgets, and elements. It comes with extensive widget and graphics libraries, including HVAC, data centers, and others, to speed up deployment so that you don't need to create your own assets. However, any third-party components, 3D renderings, can also be added. Animations can be built right inside of Atrius Solution Builder. But best of all, whatever you build is immediately accessible across all platforms. So you create an application once and it's deployed everywhere. Let's switch gears and take a look at the actual real environment, and I can demonstrate how Atrius Solution Builder tools can be applied in the real world. So one thing that I have done already is activated a very fun connection to some data that we can play with. In this particular case, I'm using my Android phone, which is here right in front of me, and I'm pulling up all the telemetry data into Atrius Solution Builder. One of the funnest and easiest points to play with is a light level sensor, which is on the phone. And of course, we can go ahead and visualize the current light level by binding it to a gauge. Let's say that our max value is maybe 0 to 20. Now with that, if I go ahead and start moving the phone or flip it upside down, the light level sensor is obscured, so you can see that the value is going to 0. Now the second thing that we can start doing with this is adding logic to our application. In this case, I'll go ahead and add a simple if block and create very basic logic saying that if this value is greater than, how about 10, then we know that lights are on. Else, we certainly know that our lights are off. And then we can also go ahead and take this and bind it back out to the user interface. So if we go ahead and flip our phone over, obscuring the light level sensor, we can see how this logic executes. In addition to that, Atrius Solution Builder supports two-way communication. So what we can also do is invoke a command whenever the light level changes. In this example, we're going to make the phone actually tell us what the current status is, and we will have it do that whenever that status changes.
Lights on.
So with that, if we flip our phone over,
lights off. Lights on.
You can see that we're taking the data in, we're visualizing it, we're doing logic on it, and invoking the command back to the device.
Lights off. Lights on.
Now with that, let's set this phone aside and have a little bit of fun with an iPhone. In this case, I am using an iPhone, and we're pulling in some basic data using our HTML5 connection, such as its orientation. And we can take a look at this in the tree as we get our orientation data streaming into Atrius Solution Builder. Now with that, we can also have a little bit of fun. For instance, we can tie that orientation into an actual image of an iPhone. To do that, we will access the properties for rotation and simply link the data points in. So let's bind alpha, beta, and gamma. So now if I pick up the phone and start physically spinning it around, you can see exactly what happens. Now, to extend this just a little bit further, let's also add logic to this application. So I will utilize the beta value that we have streaming in. And the first thing I'll do to it is just feed it through an absolute block, because sometimes it can be negative and sometimes it can be positive. We will follow that up with an if block and do a simple condition that dictates that if this value is over 100, then we're actually going to use a picture of an iPhone facing down. Else, it will be facing up. If we take a look at the result, we'll take the output and bind it to the actual image that we have. So now, as we start flipping the phone over, right, you can see that when that orientation value goes above 100, which indicates that the phone is face down, it is actually flipping the image for us. Now notice how fast all this is. So Solution Builder is certainly made for streams of data and very rapid data changes coming in. Now, what I'd like to do next is actually connect the two worlds that typically don't communicate with one another. Specifically, we will have an iPhone control the Android device. So what we'll do is reuse the logic that we have here, but instead of it doing, the back and the front, we'll just say I'm down, and the other one will be I'm up. And this we will feed into the action of an Android talking. And once again, we're going to go ahead and execute this on change.
I'm up.
So now we have both phones next to one another. And if we flip the iPhone down,
I'm down.
we're actually telling Android to give us the status. So talking
I'm
about multiple worlds that typically don't communicate, that is what Solution Builder is all about. Taking data from systems, protocols, and sources that are traditionally isolated and siloed, unifying all of them and creating joint logic and joint user interfaces.